Is rent too high and you can't afford to live where you work?
Are you tired of your rent taking your whole paycheck?
Here's some reasons why you may qualify for a new home loan and why now is the best time to buy. My name is Brian Vigil with Nexdwell Homes, eXp Realty.
And my name is Lee Simanoff with Future Home Loans, a local independent mortgage broker. So Brian, tell me a little bit about what you're hearing with regards to rent here in St. Augustine.
Great question, Lee. So, I'm hearing a lot of people saying that they can't afford to live in St. Augustine. They're paying too much rent. They're driving 1 to 2 hours to work every day. So it's not been cost effective for them to find something local.
Yeah, and think of the gas expense just on top of everything else going on. It'd be great to help them find something a little more local.
So being in the mortgage business, are there programs or things that what you do can help first-time home buyers get into something?
Yes, I think there's a lot of folks out there that have not explored what their options are, and they are plentiful for first-time home buyers. There are reduced mortgage insurance rates, reduced interest rates if you're a first-time home buyer. There are also programs from the county and state that will help with assistance for the down payment. And there are some lenders that have grant programs as well to help cover some of those costs.
So let's talk a little bit about what that means, because I do definitely hear from renters. I know when I bought my first home, I didn't understand some of the things, some of those programs, what that meant. I thought I had to have 20% down. Well, if you're talking 20% down on a $300,000 or $400,000 plus house, that's a lot of money that I have to have saved. Are there ways what are some things, or what are you seeing that maybe buyers can get into something with, what would you say, a couple percent down, 1% down?
So as a first-time home buyer, there are programs that will reduce the amount of money you need down. Sometimes there's some programs that are zero down if they qualify for it. Traditionally, 3.5%, we see out there quite frequently as well. And luckily, in this market, which we can talk about shortly here, there is some assistance from the seller side. I do think that will change in the market as time goes on and as interest rates change. But currently, I am seeing a lot of loans come in with some pretty healthy credits from the seller side, which is great.
So for a first-time home buyer, there are programs out there that they could potentially get into a house for less than what a renter, for what like a landlord is looking for with like first month, last month, renter's deposit.
Oh yeah. It's definitely worth exploring what those numbers look like. Working with an experienced agent will help you with your negotiating, which is important to have someone like Brian in your pocket that you're working with. But, definitely you don't know until you go through the process of figuring out what you can do. And it's usually a very surprising process how close people are or they're ready to go as far as acquiring that home. And then that gets them out of the troubles of renting as far as not earning any equity, kind of burning through your money and losing cash every month as you're paying somebody else's mortgage for the house you're renting. So tell me what the market in St. Augustine is like currently. What are you seeing out there?
So the market's very different than it was a few years ago. A few years ago, I think people were overpaying. I think on average, it was almost $60,000. People were overpaying for a house. First-time home buyers weren't able to get into a home because of a certain loan that they were in, or so that market has shifted. We're no longer in a seller's market. This is definitely a buyer's market, which is, I think, opening up things for first-time home buyers to get into something at the right price and at the right time.
Yeah, I see that as well. Homes have been on the market for a little bit longer. Sellers are willing to work with buyers more so than they were years ago. And I think that's due to rates. Rates are a little bit higher than they were before, but historically, they're still very good. And they have to look at that big picture item as well. One of the things we talk about frequently is buying now versus waiting. And if you wait for rates to come down or something like that, the price of the house will be higher. It's going to appreciate. Can you talk a little bit about what those figures look like of appreciation last year?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think on average it was about a 6% increase in home value last year. So when you look at that, on a year in, year out basis, if a house is going up 3 to 6%, now it's if you're waiting for interest rates to drop or something to happen, now that may be pricing you out of the market regardless.
Right.
And if interest rates drop, as you know, we'll talk about this maybe here in a second, maybe you can elaborate on this, but if interest rates drop, that means more buyers in the market, and that chance that we flip markets and get back into the seller's market where now you're overpaying again.
Right. And there are calculators out there for this, but if you to wait a couple of years, that house you were looking at, it's going to appreciate. It's going to cost you more. You're going to have to borrow more versus buying it now with the rate that's out there today. You're going to have a better scenario doing this earlier than waiting.
So like on a $400,000, I think we were talking about earlier, like a $400,000 mortgage on a house and it appreciates, 6%.
6% like it did last year. If you were to take those numbers out over 5 years, it'd be about $135,000 worth of equity.
So if I'm a renter and I'm paying $3,000 a month, which isn't uncommon,
right? No, definitely not.
That's what, $30,000 per year that you're giving to the landlord. What would you say they're paying their mortgage?
Yeah, they're paying their mortgage, and you take that 30 over the same 5 years, and that's $150,000 you've literally given away versus taking your money, investing it in your house, knowing where you're living. The landlord can't come to you and say, hey, I'm going to sell this property. You got to move. This is your house. It's protected. It's yours. As long as you make a mortgage payment, you can stay in it.
And let's be honest, St. Augustine is an amazing place to live.
Oh, that's great.
The restaurants, the bars, St. Augustine being the oldest city in the United States. I don't know that everybody knows that. But
no, they don't. It's neat to be there, learn about its history for hundreds of years, how it was settled, conquered, back and forth over and over again. There's a lot of deep history here, which is neat. And one of the other big draws besides the beach is the school system. #1 school system in Florida. A lot of people who are moving to the state, and that's what they're looking for. And St. Augustine provides that to them, which is wonderful.
So whether you're starting a family or you have a family, you're putting your kids in the situation to succeed in the future by living in St. John's County, St. Augustine. Amazing, amazing place to live. Let me ask you, Lee. Could you afford to rent? We talked about it. You're giving away how many hundred? Can you afford to give away $150,000?
No, I would like my money that I'm paying each month going toward my future, not somebody else's.
So I'll tell you what. Hit that like button. Subscribe now. Give us a call.
Thank you.